guys at exoticspecialtyparts.com. Today I've got another product for you, and I'm going to do a demonstration on how to install it. This part's going to be a little bit more complicated than most of my other parts to install. However, it is for a Ferrari application, and it is designed to be a permanent repair for a pretty prevalent problem on 360s, 550s, and a few other platforms. I've yet to verify fitment on a 550. I believe it's the same, but give me some time and I'll update the website as soon as I know for sure. So the issue are the sun visors. This is a driver's sun visor out of a 360, and what will happen is it's similar to the Maserati problem that I already have solutions for. It's a sagging sun visor problem. So as the sun visor is mounted up into the ceiling, it will fall and just become loose. You may also notice once it's bad enough, it will separate from the attachment on the ceiling. Now, I'm going to give you a demonstration and show you kind of what the problem is, what happens, and how to fix it. Alright, so first, in order to do this repair, it'll help a lot to understand what you're fixing. So you have your sun visor, you have the rod attachment that breaks here, and then it breaks internally, which is what causes the floppiness. Now, excuse the rudimentary drawing, but hopefully this will help explain it. So you have your base plate that mounts to your ceiling, you have the L-shaped rod that comes out of it, that's this piece right here, and that'll come out pretty far. And then you have your sun visor mounted around that. There you go. Alright, so what you don't see that's occurring on the inside is this rod right here, from about this point forward to here, has a flat spot on the top and the bottom. Right about here. So the side of it, if you looked at it from the side, is shaped, it's a barrel, comes out, drops down, has a flat section on it, comes back up, and then flares out to the end, flat section, and the shaft, and that'll come up to your ceiling mount bracket. So this right here is what breaks off. It breaks right about here. Now inside of the sun visor, in this direction right here, there's a metal clip, and it's just about this shape. Imagine a piece of sheet metal essentially. And let's go from here to here and from here to here. So this clip grabs onto the shaft that the sun visor is hanging from. So when you fold it into a closed position, it snaps down onto this flat area, and then when you pull the sun visor, the clip folds open and kind of holds the visor in place. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's a little tricky. I have some photos as well. I'll post of a visor that's been cut open so you can see the internal mechanism and understand a little bit better how it works. Now the interesting part to this that a lot of people don't realize is that as long as it doesn't have a lighted mirror on the inside, I'll get to that in a little bit, you can actually take a non-broken visor, turn it about 90 degrees, fold it down like you're using it, and then wiggle it back and forth, and it will pull off of this rod. You can actually take the sun visor off the rod without breaking it. That's designed to come apart that way. Now the downside is once it has broken, like this one, you can see the entire sleeve is broken and sheared off at the end. It's stuck inside the sun visor. Now that's the tedious part of this repair. So I'll explain that a little bit further here. So we're going to move this out of the way. Alright, so here's our sun visor, and then I will attempt to show you, this is going to be very hard to do because of the size and where it is. You can see down inside the broken piece of plastic that's trapped on the inside. Now you have two options. It's to get it out, which is very hard once it's broken, or to dismantle it, break it apart, and pull it out piece by piece, or there's actually space. This clip mechanism ends about right here. So there's actually space inside the sun visor here that you can push the broken piece into, and it won't cause any visible issues. It'll just push it out of the way, and then when we repair this part, you'll reinsert it and it'll go back into the clip mechanism. Now, this one's pretty severely broken on the inside, and I don't want to cause any problems with interference, so I'm going to attempt to partially remove at least some of it. Now, the idea I have for that, and I'll show you, is I have a 1/4 inch drill bit on this drill. So we're just going to drill that out. We're going to drill out as much of this plastic as we can. Now we got to be careful not to damage the fabric or the metal clip. It would take a pretty large amount of effort to damage the metal clip, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. You just want to watch your fabric, especially where your chuck's going to want to rub on this here. And actually, just to be a little extra safe, I'm going to take some blue masking tape. I'm going to wrap this up. Actually put 2 layers, just in case. There we go. That way, just if this plastic rubs, it won't cause any fraying or damage to the fabric. All right, so don't mind the noise. Let's drill this out. Okay, let's check it a little bit longer. It's pretty deep in there. There we go. There it goes. That's all it took. Broke it up. Of course, none of it wants to come out. Not the end of the world. Let's take a look and see what we got here. Longer drill bit would obviously make this a little bit easier, but that's what I've got here. All right, yep, it's got a hole. You're not going to be able to see it in the video very well, but see if I can convince it to focus. There we go. So down inside there, I'm sorry, you can't see it very good, but I've drilled a hole through the bottom of that piece. All right, guys, after a lot of coaxing and messing with it, I managed to use the Allen wrench to slightly twist the broken piece of plastic inside the sun visor, and that kind of helps release it. So I got these needle nose pliers. I'm just going to kind of gently, oh, there it goes. So you can see right here, booyah, got the entire piece out. So this is going to be the hardest part of this, and it just depends on how yours is broken. You actually see there's a piece of this gone already on the right side. It's going to be probably down in there. There's the shavings from my drill bit earlier. Trying to get all that out. All right, let's take a look. Piece of plastic. Okay, I do in fact have another small piece trapped in the very back. I'll try my best to get you an idea of what that looks like. If you can see down in here again. Sorry, I have to fold the focus. So you can see the metal wire frame that is behind the clip. So that comes out right here, and it's kind of shaped along this line. And that's what you'll run into at the very back. So I've got that out. There's one more small piece back there, but I can tell it is pushed out, like I said, past the clip mechanism, and it's going to be out of the way of our repair. So that part's done. Set that to the side. Let me clear this work area just a little bit. All right, easy enough. Next up, we're going to prepare the L bracket. So here's the repair insert. ESP 360 VIZ FIX 360 Viz Fix or Viz Fix. So this is what you'll receive. This plastic sleeve, it's one of these per sun visor. Slide it out, and as you see, this is what replaces the broken end that used to be on this shaft. Now, there's a little trick to this and figuring out how to prepare it. So if you take, and you'll notice, the inside of the repair sleeve is right at 35 millimeters in depth. So what you want to do is take that same measurement, and we're going to go under just a little bit because you want it to sit pretty flush. So I'm going to go down to about 34. There we go. You're going to measure from this metal tube right here, and you could use a ruler or anything like you have as long as you can measure in millimeters. I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to put a little mark in the plastic here. So this little line right here is where I just marked this. Sorry, let's zoom in. That's probably help you a lot with the small details. So right there, 34 millimeters is what I'm doing it at. Put a little line in it right there. Now there's a few options I found for cutting this. Again, it depends on how it has broken. You see this one is broken really far back. Typically it's a lot further up than that. This one is past where the repair sleeve is going to go. And what I used right here, wire cutters. Now the reason I use this is you see they have the little semi cutouts all the way across, and don't mind this set, it's probably 30 years old, it's my father's. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to go to the largest little mark here. It doesn't have to fit perfectly. And I'm just going to use that and kind of rotate it back and forth. Use it to score the plastic, just like you would if you've ever used a pipe cutter or a tubing cutter for like brake lines. Same idea. You don't want to cut the aluminum tube. It's putting a little mark in it, but it's not cutting it. You just want to cut that plastic. So I'm going to focus more on that. So take a little bit. Believe it or not, it's actually easier if it's still got plastic all the way around, if it breaks further up. There we go. Right there. Right along that score line. Alright, so we've got this sleeve cleaned up. We're going to do a little dry test fit, and this should fit pretty snug, like very tight. I'm going to go now, wiggle it. There we go. You don't want to use pliers or anything because this is plastic. There you go. Alright, I'm just going to press down. And like I said, this is going to be very tight. This is not a permanent install, we're just doing a dry fit right now. So make sure we can get the sleeve all the way down. See how it's going down each turn? I'm just twisting it around. So you do not want to glue this for this test fit. Now the reason for that is you've got to figure out the indexing on this new insert. Now, you remember the flats I discussed at the beginning? So you can see them in the repair sleeve right here. So it's a little flat area. Let's see, it's very small. There it is. You can see it right there on the top and the bottom. That needs to be aligned to where you want the park position for the visor. So we take our visor back, take the blue tape off, and you can see with the sleeve installed, this is a driver's side or a left side for United States. Let me back this back out. So this is mounted to your ceiling straight up, let's say ceiling straight up, and then you would want the visor to fold into the lock position a little bit over 90 degrees. So it's going to sit about, you can see this flat surface here. There we go. So it's going to sit about like that. Try focusing, there we go. About like this in the park position. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these flat surfaces here, and when we're done installing, or when we're doing the final install, you want these flat surfaces to be parallel to this flat surface. So I'm just going to turn it, for example, right here, keep turning it. And there's no top or bottom or left or right, so it doesn't matter which flat surface faces up. About like that looks pretty good to me. So parallel here and here. And that way when your visor folds up, it'll snap into the park position flat with your ceiling. It won't be hanging down or anything like that. Alright, so now we got that done. We're just we've identified the park position. I'm going to give myself a little Sharpie reference mark. Normally, if the sleeve wasn't broken all the way back here, I would just mark straight across. But for now, I'm going to use this little break as a reference. Yes, right there, a little Sharpie mark. Alright, now we take the sleeve back off. And it's a lot easier to get off the first time than it was the second time. Second time, we're going to glue it. So I'm just going to pull this apart. Just keep twisting, 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 twisting. There you go. That's off. Alright, now see how smooth this is? That's what'll get you if you don't prepare this properly. So I've just got a piece of 220 grit sandpaper here, 120 would be fine. We just need to add some grit to this. In two directions. So right now I'm just going to twist and kind of rough up the metal. Like that. And I'm also going to make some straight lines to help prevent rotational forces on it. There you go. Just a few. That's that. Dry it off or wipe it off. Okay, the surface is prepped. Now we're going to need epoxy. I've just got some clear weld, quick setting, 5-minute clear epoxy. That's all you need. I'll take a sheet of paper from earlier. Take my epoxy. This is an opened tube, so I might have to prime it just a little bit. Let the clear come out. There we go. Alright, to make sure the ratio is correct, I wait until both sides are bleeding. There we go, that's more than enough right there. Pull the plunger back, put this away. Alright, I found, and this is, if you got mixing sticks, Q-tips, whatever you want to use, all of it works. I like to use a clean razor blade to mix my epoxy. Just makes a very nice scraper, especially if you're using it in hobbies or whatever and you're using it like a Bondo paddle almost. Mix it quite well. Enjoy the horrible smell. And like I said, you're going to need very, very, very little of this. So there we go. It's all mixed. I'm going to take and put a little dollop inside the tube. One other thing you'll notice on this tube right here is that it is chamfered around the inside edge. I do that to allow a little place for a bead of the adhesive to stick to. So it's just a little design feature there. Now we're just going to take and put a nice little dollop of it in there. You don't have to put it all the way around because as you twist the insert back onto the rod, it'll spread it out. And then just for good measure, I like to put just a tiny bit on the rod, but obviously you do want to make sure you get the insert all the way down. So clean the epoxy off, trash that, and now time for the final install. Just keep twisting and pushing. It's usually a little easier the second time around because now it's got some form of lubrication on it. Oh, I say that too soon. It's very small, so it makes it a little tricky to grab onto. I just kind of wrap my fingers around it like this to get a lot of grip, and then I just turn it. There we go. So you can see I've got it flush. Got a little bit of epoxy coming out of it there. I'll wipe that off with my glove. And now we just need to verify the alignment before it dries. So I'm just going to turn that. And I'm going to look at my positioning here. I'm going to go a little bit further clockwise. That looks pretty flush to me. You guys can see it too. Pretty parallel here, this surface to this surface. I'm trying just a hair more. All right. Now here I've got just a little soapy water, isopropyl alcohol. I'll wet a paper towel with it, and then because I have epoxy on my hands, so I might have gotten a few little drops and specks in places. Get that off, wipe off the excess around this joint. I'm actually going to take a piece of fabric electrical wrap tape. It's made for protecting wiring harnesses. And I'll put it around this area just so that it doesn't show through in the visor. Now technically this will be recessed until about this point right here, so you'll never see it, but I just do it as a little extra detail. It's just for looks. So I'm going to wipe all that down. Alright guys, it's actually been an hour. I said 30 minutes before, but even the 5-minute epoxy, I just took the sheet of paper that I had mixed the epoxy on and checked it, and it was still soft and tacky, so I didn't want to take a chance at installing this yet. So it's been a full hour. Honestly, I would wait 24 hours if you are patient. I'm not always patient, but we're ready to install the sleeve. Now, I mentioned before, because of this blemish here, I wanted to cover that up. So I'm going to use this. It's just fabric electrical tape. It's anti-chafe tape is what it is. And I'm just going to wrap the end of this up and make it look a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so that's done. All right, now we're going to grab our visor. And we've got the opening here at the end. Let me back open this. There we go. All right. Now, one little trick to this that will likely help you is get a little bit of dielectric grease. I mean, very little bit. I got some right here on the tip. And I'm just going to lube the end of this just a little bit. And the reason is it's got to slide through that inner metal clip, and it can fight you if you don't. Wipe off the excess off my hands. All right. Now, this can be very tricky because I'm holding my hands out ahead of me to film this video, so I might fight it just a little bit, but you're just going to take and push the clip in, kind of wiggle it around just a little. Yep, see it drop in right there. And then you're just going to go in until it kind of clicks. So if you notice, I've got the flat area here facing straight up, so it should snap into place once it reaches the correct depth. You want to be careful not to twist it too much if your adhesive is fairly new, so because you don't want to cause your alignment to go off if your epoxy is not fully cured. But there it goes. So it snapped right in right there. Now I would rotate this right now and show you, but since it's only been an hour since I've installed the epoxy, I don't want to take a chance at messing up my alignment. So you notice that this is installed and it's flipped in the correct direction. So this is the driver's side. So once this mounts up to the ceiling, you can see the visor will sit flush with the ceiling right here. So 2 screws go in right there and hold it. Now, I would rotate this back and forth and show you how it clicks like normal, but since the epoxy is so fresh, I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe I can get a video of it once it's installed and show you from that. But this gives you an idea. This is a fully repaired sun visor, so like I said, I would let this sit for 24 hours to ensure that epoxy is fully cured. It's very important that's fully cured because there's a lot of torque on that sleeve. I did make the sleeve out of a much stronger material than the original plastic that this was made out of, so you should not have that same failure ever again. All of my parts have a 1-year warranty on them, so if you do have a sleeve crack, break, you have trouble putting it on and damage it, any reasonable excuse, anything like that happens, please do email me, exoticspecialtyparts@gmail.com, and I'll get you taken care of. Same situation occurs if you have another issue with your car and that you believe a part would be beneficial that doesn't currently exist or that is only part of a higher assembly. Please let me know. That is what I focus on doing, or making repair parts. On another note, I'm going to give you a quick preview of something I'm working on. It's going to be the next product that's following this. I actually have 2 products that are coming up for the Ferrari platforms. So the first one, and this is actually going to be tested on Monday, will be this mechanism right here. So ignore the roll. I've got to get measurements before I cut this elastic strap. But there are these 2 brackets right here. And I'll give you a second here. Can you guess what this is for? It's an elastic strap. 2 different brackets on each end. Okay, time's up. So Ferrari 360s and 430s share a mechanical convertible top platform, and they both share a major issue. The issue occurs when the elastic straps sewn into the roof wear out. You'll get to the point where these are just flopping around on the roof like this. They don't have any tension on them anymore. Now what that causes is there's a mid-rib that goes across the ceiling directly above your head when you're sitting in the car, and that bar is supposed to, as the roof begins to fold, is supposed to be pulled back and retract towards the back of the car as the roof starts to fold. And the elastic strap's job is to do that. Now the problem that occurs, the elastic strap wears out, the bar no longer folds back, which leaves it in the forward position, and as the roof folds up, that bar is now holding the fabric back and causing a lot of tension. This will tear your convertible top. I'm sure many of you with older or higher mileage cars that have not repaired that issue probably are already seeing those symptoms, the wear symptoms, the 2 holes in the top corners of the top. This is designed to be a 5-minute install replacement for that strap. So this right here will clip on around the rearmost bar where the top of the back window attaches, and then this will hook to that mid bar that fails. Now if you notice, it's a slightly semicircle enclosed strap. This will always have tension on it. It'll just have more tension when it's in the forward position, and then as the top folds, it'll pull the bar back into a more resting position. And again, as you fold the top back closed, it will just simply stretch out and allow the bar to go back into its position. These will be sold in sets. I haven't come up with a price on them quite yet. I just need to find out what I'm going to have as far as volume and material cost and time. But I'll get these kits put together as soon as I can. Hopefully I'll have an installation video for this kit within the week. Anyway, so that'll probably be the next video that comes out. The other product that I have coming soon, set that to the side. Let me grab this. It's a little bit of a tricky one. This is meant to save you from having to buy a higher assembly. So this is a prototype, don't completely judge it yet, but this is the original part. Let me zoom in a little bit here. And if you have a 430, the automatic and reverse buttons have this bracket underneath. This is actually what the button assembly goes into, and it holds the button underneath the console. Well, the problem is after a while you may push your button one day and the button breaks off into the console. Then your only option is to buy the entire button assembly from Ferrari or other vendors to replace this entire assembly, even though your button may be perfectly good working, no problems. So they break because of just a poor design. Right here in this corner right there is almost no material. So that stress of pushing the buttons, this is an original bracket that you see here. The stress of pushing the button flexes this in and out and in and out. You can see where it's flexing there, and eventually it breaks off. So I've made a beefier version to rebuild this button assembly with. This will be available from myself and from other vendors. But as you can tell, this is the original button. The top of it's not here. This is obviously, like I said, being prototype and test fit. But as of right now, this design is greatly improved. It's made to be a lot stronger, beefier per se on the inside. And then the button assembly is done differently as well. So the wiring does have to be cut and resoldered to install it, so you need to have a little bit of ability to do that. But you slide the new button, or the original button, into the new bracket, and then there'll be a little tongue back here. You tuck it under and then push down, and it'll fit flush down inside here. And then the rubber cap goes back on top, or plastic cap, the actual push button that says A, auto, or R on it. So once that's done, you'll put the button back on it, put it back into the center console, and there's a few other improvements to this, but I'll discuss that in its own video once it's done. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully this product helps many of you. I know this is an irritating problem to have. So I appreciate your time, guys. Hopefully this repair part helps many of you. Hopefully this repair solves a lot of your headaches owning your cars, and hopefully I can make other products to help you in the meantime. This is Chaz at Exotic Specialty Parts. Thanks for watching the video.